In this video, we're going to look at two things. We're going to look at finding the equation of linear graphs given the graph itself. And then after that, we're going to look at a thing called restrictions, restricting the graph. So let's start with finding the equation. So here we've got some examples. The graphs have already been drawn using Graphmatica. If we have a look at the first graph in front of us, we can see it's a vertical line, the orange line. The vertical line, and it goes through the point coordinate 3, 0, x, the x-axis, x equals 3, and go straight down. So this is one of those special lines, and it's x equals, because it's a vertical line, and it's x equals 3. So always a vertical line will be x equals, and it'll be just the x-intercept. So x equals 3. There's no y in this equation. So that's the equation of that one. That's a vertical line, one of the special lines. The next one, it is a horizontal line. So it's horizontal, so the equation will be y equals, and there's no x in this one. It just cuts through the y-axis at y equals 1, or the coordinate 0, 1. So the equation of this one is y equals 1. So all horizontal lines have the equation y equals the number. And of course, you can then go to Graphmatica and check this. Check if you've done it right. If what you graph on Graphmatica lines up. Okay, this one's doesn't seem so simple. There's a few ways you could do this. You could do it using algebra and sort of what we've looked at already. We can see that our y-intercept from this graph is 1.5. We can see that the slope is negative. It's going up towards the top left-hand side, so it's a negative gradient. So m is negative. And you could find the slope, the actual gradient. If you wanted to pick 2 points, you'd have to pick, say, this point up here. Say you could find the coordinate 0, so 0.5, 2.5, and you could find this one here, which is negative 0.5, I should say, negative 0.5, 2.5, and the coordinate here, which is 0.5, 0.5, and you could find the rise over the run. If you did that, it's a negative, so you end up getting -2. When you do the rise over the run, you end up getting -2. So the graph, the equation of this graph is y equals -2x plus 1.5. But let's say you didn't want to do it that way. And in fact, we don't expect you to do it that way because we're learning how to use Graphmatica. So really, you don't need to do it this way. The way you can actually do it is just pick 2 points on this graph. So again, I'm just going to pick two points that are very clear. So let's pick let's pick this coordinate here actually on the y-axis. So that's 0, 1.5. Any two coordinates, it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to pick 0, 1.5. I can clearly see that is a coordinate on this straight line. Let's pick another one. Let's pick this one here, 0.5, 0.5. I picked that before. So 0.5, 0.5. I could also use it to find the gradient as well, of course. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take these 2 points and just take any 2 points off the graph, and then we're going to go to Graphmatica. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot those two graphs. So if you remember how to do that, we go to View, and we go to Data Plot Editor, and we put in those points. So hopefully you have written them down or remembered them. So I remembered them. So it's 0, 1.5. That was one coordinate. The other coordinate was 0.5, 0.5. And this is handy because you don't need to do any of that finding the gradient or y-intercept method. And then we just press. So now you've got these 2 points. You can see there, I've typed them in. They turn up. This was from lesson 1. And then we just press curve fit, and you've got your straight line. And then all I need to do now is just hover my cursor over the top of that, and hopefully you can see on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, it'll also be in yellow because my curve is in yellow. It'll say y equals -2.0x plus 0.5 to the power of 1. So basically it's y equals minus 2x plus 1.5. And that is the equation of this line, which is what we wrote down there. And so really just pick 2 points and go to View, Data Plot Editor in Graphmatica, and you can find the equation. Okay, so that's the first part. So using Graphmatica, as well as your skills that you've learned so far to find the equations of a line. And you'll be doing that in the first part of the worksheet. The other part I want to show you now is about restrictions. And this is just a little intro. We'll be continuing with restrictions next week as well. So let's look at restrictions. What is a restriction? Well, you'll notice this equation is the same one as the previous graph. So this is this equation here, this line here that we have here. But what I've got here, as I said, for x, and this means the way we say this in maths is x is between -1 and 1, and also including -1 and 1. So it's between these two x values. So this graph, so what that means is I don't actually want this whole graph. I'm just delete these points. Just delete them. Just go to delete. I don't want this whole graph. All I want is the graph between, what did it say? It said between the x values between -1 and 1. So x is -1, so between this point here, -1, all the way to x equals 1. So to this point here. So I just want from here all the way to there. Now, how do you plot that on Graphmatica? How do you just plot a section of a straight line? Well, I'm going to show you now. I might just delete this graph. You can keep it, but I'm just going to delete it. I type the equation. So it's y equals minus 2x plus 1.5. That's the same. So you type the equation here, but before you press enter, put a space, and you need to use this bracket. Now this bracket, by the way, very important to use the correct bracket. Any other brackets don't work. You'll see that when you do the worksheet. It's shift, and it's the keys next to the letter P. So those brackets, so the curly brackets. And you put the values that you want to graph it between. And we're talking about the x values here. So it was -1. You always put the smaller number first, comma, you separate the numbers with a comma, to 1. So the smaller number first, -1, comma 1, and you close it with the same type of bracket. And then press enter. And what do we get? We get a restricted graph, which means it's graphed this graph, but only between these x values. And we always put the smaller number to the larger number in the restriction. Okay, now let's graph I'm going to continue actually on the same axis. I'm going to type y equals 3.5, but I don't want the whole graph. So y equals 3.5 is a horizontal graph at 3.5, but I want to graph it between -1, that's the smaller number, to 1. So the smaller number to the larger number. I'm going to close it with those little curly brackets. Press enter, and you can see what's happened between -1 and 1 instead of going all the way across. If you make a mistake, of course, you can just delete it like normal. Now what I want to do is you can probably see what I want to do. My last thing, I want to join this coordinate here, which is 3.5, to this coordinate down below here, which is the coordinate 1 minus 0.5. I want to join them together. So first I'll have to say to myself, what is the equation of that line that would go all the way down there? So it's a vertical line that goes through 1. Well, a vertical line, remember, has the equation x equals, and it'll go through x equals 1. So the equation is x equals 1. What are the points? The thing is, though, the x values, all the x values are 1. but the sections I want, it's a bit different when it's a vertical line. I want it between this y value, which is between here, which is 3.5, to the other y value, which is minus 0.5. Yep. Now we always write the smaller number first, so don't forget that. So we actually have to write minus 0.5 first. So from here, minus 0.5 first, all the way up to the larger number, which is 3.5, comma, 3.5. Close the bracket. And you can see I've made a triangle. And I've made a triangle by restricting these lines. Now for all of them, it's between the x values. So between -1 to 1, for this one up here, the light blue line, I click on it, you can see it here, it's between -1 and 1. The only difference is when you have a vertical line, the restriction will be between the y values. Okay, so when you do the worksheet, you'll be playing around with this. And it might take a little bit of time, and that's okay. There will be an opportunity for us to revisit this next week as well. There's just one last thing before we go. Say, for example, I wanted to join this coordinate here. Let's pick another coordinate. Let's say, actually, let me just clear this graph. These graphs, I should say. Edit, delete all graphs. Say I wanted to join the point 1, 4, the coordinate 1, 4 to the coordinate 5, 0. How could I do that? So 1, 4 to 5, 0. You probably already worked that out. If you think you can work it out, you're welcome to stop the video and just do that. Try and draw a line, a vertical line, not a vertical line, a straight line joining the points. It'll be diagonal. A straight line joining the coordinates 1, 4 to 5, 0. Stop the video and see if you can do that. All right. So hopefully you've had a go. What I would do is I would put it in here. I'd put 1, 4 and I'd type in 5, 0 because I don't know the equation of the line. You need to have the equation of the line before you can restrict it. So I'd put those points in. I then press curve fit. That would then give me the equation. I can click on it and you can actually see the equation comes up here. So I could just retype the equation, but I don't need to. I'm just going to delete that section and I'm now going to restrict it. So I want it between, I said, the x coordinates 1 and 5. So 1's a smaller number, comma 5. Oops, that was wrong. 1, comma 5. Let me take away the other comma. Close the bracket correctly. And you can see that's changed in a different color. I'm going to delete the graph underneath. And I might even delete those points. I'm just going to go delete. And you can see I've got that graph there. So what I did was I graphed the whole line first, and then I took the equation and restricted it. That's something that you'll do in the video, and it's a bit of a hint in the worksheet. And it's a bit of a hint for that. Okay,